Okay.
We'll resume our meeting.
And
Continue with your comments.
in campgrounds or trailer parks. I've watched many trailers get demolished in the Great Bend Trailer Park on Route 11. Whether or not they were demolished following the asbestos rules, I very question it. That's a question for the local enforcement officer, DEP, Labor and Industries, and the DA. By having those campers in those campgrounds, it varies the sewage rentals that are paid. It's lowered the number of EDUs we average for the Halsted Great Bend Joint Sewer Authority because we have a few trailer parks in Great Bend Township, and New Milford Borough also has one, which connects to our sewer plant. There's also private residences that have attached multiple fixtures to allow multiple campers on the properties. And these, it could be handled going to the assessment office, going to COG, seeing if their septic system meets the requirements or it has to be updated. But that's also a campground. If none of these are followed, it's worthless to even have the saldo. Then we get into enforcement of the saldo for noise with this Miller compression station. Yeah, I would say, follow your saldo. But you've also been notified that there is an ordinance. Whether or not their solicitor agrees to say follow this or follow that, there's an ordinance there. It's like for municipalities, they're going to have MS4 ordinances whenever DEP gets around to issuing them in this county. We're going to have ordinances for our stormwater. You could take the way this is being handled, say, well, we'll just follow the saldo, not the municipal separate storm sewer system ordinance. And that can have implications for the permit. Even if in that drainage area of that outfall is outside that municipality in another municipality. Because the permit holder, what's discharged from that, regardless of municipality of that watershed that that outfall is in, is responsible. And that could have other implications, similar to this, where there's a municipal ordinance, possibly a nuisance ordinance, that's trying to be done under land development. And other irregularities with this ordinance, who's able to take the readings? You have industrial hygienists that are certified. You had a program started by OSHA for people, which generally fell dead in the 70s. But I know 2 people that still maintain those certifications that still work, although they're getting close to retirement. There should be listing of the monitoring equipment, calibration data, who took the samples, when. Not just, here's a bunch of results, and here's the engineer that signs it. You need to know the technicians. When I do reports, even if it's doing air monitoring, my test gas has to be calibrated every year. I may have to calibrate my equipment with that test gas every time I operate it. And you're not getting that. You're just getting a spreadsheet of results. I can print in some of my equipment what all my readings are through the calibration all the way to the end. And one thing I will add in, the last time that I was at the Susquehanna County Planning Commission meeting, I observed 3 violations of the Sunshine Act. And that was right after the fines changed with the act they passed in 2012, amending the penalty section of the Sunshine Act. And one more thing. And then with connections, you may want to look at their contract between the Montrose Municipal Authority and Bridgewater. They may not be able to take connections during disputes. And that's it.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else for public comment? State your name.
I got to weigh in on that Hartford, Williams.
Please state your name.
Hartford. I'm Catherine Holland of Hartford. I live right in front of that mountain where that compressor station sits right on top, right up behind our house. And I think that you should not grant approval to Williams for the compressor station for the noise level being over Hartford's ordinance, because we should stick by Hartford's ordinance and not cave to the Susquehanna County ordinance level for the noise level, because we should have a backbone and stick by our township's noise level, which will keep it down, and I don't have to listen to that really screaming loud compressor station. They start firing up all 5 of those compressors. There's 5 out there. They have one running barely at any level right now at all, and you can hear it, and it's one. When they fire all 5 of those up, it's going to be monstrous. So I say we should not grant them approval to go to the county. We should stick by Hartford's noise level ordinance and keep those decibels down. Because I live there and I don't have to listen to it.
Great, thank you for your comments. Anyone else?
Hi, Craig Stevens, Silver Lake Township. Vera said some things earlier, so we're at 40, this is number 40 compressor station. Bradford County has more wells than we do, they have 25. Well, what's the deal? I'm sure they were reviewing these a little bit further, and I appreciate everybody's service on the board here. I know nobody gets paid, but we're the citizens. You represent really us and make the decisions to protect us. Everything you do pretty much is protective nature. I'm curious about this letter that's included at the last page, where your own, the solicitor from the former solicitor, Andrew Hailstone, dated May 5th, 2014, addressed to Mike Atchie, stating that, hey, we're just going to go with the county level, even though he was the one that was a solicitor when this was passed and put into place, and he was probably the one that sent it to you to be put into your own record. I don't care what Williams wants. We're getting bossed and pushed around by the oil and gas industry enough, but they want to put something that spews out tons of VOCs. You know what toluene and benzene are? It's not very pretty to breathe it in. Neither is formaldehyde, which comes out of them. I'm just wondering why the state of New York was smart enough. Here's their information. They put out a giant document that the governor of New York decided not to move forward with any of this activity. You know why? In here is covered multiple times what comes out of compressor stations they're worrying about. And you know what they state here? Nobody will tell them what's coming out. They can't get any real-time monitoring. I will ask you, this body, how many of these previously approved, 39, and the ones that are operating, have you, as a body, required, even one, to have real-time air quality monitoring? DEP's not doing it. That doesn't matter to us. If people live next door to it, they and their animals, and their children, and their pregnant moms are breathing this stuff in. You got one motor running, she's saying, out of 5. And I already read the documentation. It's right below 50, so it can get below your number at the front door of the residence. Well, that's not what Hartford's ordinance says. It says 25 feet from the fence. That's why Williams went and talked to the Hartford former solicitor and tried to get that thrown out, because they can't meet it. That's not your problem. That's their problem. Your problem is you have 2 words you can say, yes or no. I'm not hearing no very much, and that doesn't make me feel too comfortable. I'm a tax-paying citizen of this county. My family's been here almost 200 years. You all knew my grandmother, probably Bernice Price, my father, Lloyd Stevens, and my great-grandparents, my great-great-grandparents, and my great-great-great-grandparents. Most of them are buried right down at Brookside Cemetery. I move here and find out this is like the Wild West where I'm from. Nobody's following any rules All Williams have to come in is threaten to sue you, threaten to sue the township of Hartford, and all of a sudden everybody bows down to him. One thing I learned in my 54 years of life, I don't bow down to anybody, especially corporations that come in and tell you, this is the way things are being done now. Not the way you've been doing them for the last 100 years, 200 years, forget it. It's not a good position to put this body in, but you're the ones that are looking to grant approval and override an ordinance. I will read you your own ordinance. Salvo, it's very clear, 710.4, local, state, and federal regulations. All operations shall comply with all applicable local, state, and federal laws and rules and regulations. You can't override it, it's in your own saldo. If you do it, they're going to sue you, and I'm going to join in on it. You're not going to tell Hartford what they did was wrong. What they did was to protect themselves. They were smart enough. And by the way, they have some of the strongest noise ordinance in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. We're at 40. You're getting ready to put a rubber stamp on 40. We have the most of any county in the Commonwealth. There's a little over 400 compressor stations in the entire Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. We have 10% of them here. And not one of you know what's coming out of them really. They'll tell you it's water vapor. It's not water vapor. That's not why. Besides that, there is a great compendium, you can get it, from the health professionals of New York, concerned health professionals in New York. It was one of the main documents that Andrew Cuomo used to say no to the industry coming and destroying their lives, like you guys have allowed the county's lives to be destroyed. Not you in particular and personally, but our elected, tomorrow morning I'll be in front of the county commissioners, reminding them that we pay their paycheck. I will hear, anybody here know that the county has a noise meter that's certified? No, they do not. They don't. They're not planning on buying one. They don't have a certified noise meter. How do you, the county, try to enforce a saldo when you have no way to enforce it? That is absolutely ridiculous. That's like having police and laws. We're going to ignore them tomorrow. Tomorrow is a free run every stop sign day. That's not how laws work. We are a nation of laws. Either we enforce them or we don't. And if you don't, it's called anarchy. The industry is getting away with anarchy, and I'm getting tired of it. We don't pay taxes and have these boards put together. You're not getting paid, so we understand that part. But the 3 people that sit in that room tomorrow morning do. What I'm getting tired of is even the concerned health professionals in New York. It's all over their documentation. Hey, what we don't know is what's coming out of those compressor stations. And we're very concerned because we've seen levels of benzene, toluene, formaldehyde, all these fun things to float around in the air. What I also don't like is the industry is going to let you guys have numbers from one station, one compressor out of 5 running. Okay, so if I promise not to clobber somebody over the head with a hammer, and you guys approve it, okay, he's not going to do that, and then I clobber somebody over the head with a hammer, I have to answer to the law I broke by doing it in the future. When you say yes, I'm going to ask the board. You don't have to answer me. I know the answer already. When it becomes 80 dB at their front door, after you approve it, when they turn on all 5, are you going to enforce it? Are you going to tell them to shut it down until they can get it down below 50? No, you're not. There's a beautiful flagpole out front here. It's got 2 beautiful flags on it. That costed $5,000, we were told, 2 weeks ago at the county commissioners meeting. $5,000. So we can spend $5,000 on a new flagpole, which looks really nice out there. We can't buy a certified noise meter and have somebody in this county job to go when somebody complains that's a taxpaying citizen, or when I do, about a noise ordinance that the county has being violated. They can't even go test for it and then go to the company and say, hey, you're violating our noise ordinance. We went to the front door of the nearest building or 2 and you're over 50 dB, so it's time for you to turn it off until you can get it below that. And every time we catch you after it, it's a $10,000 fine or $5,000 fine or whatever you guys decide to do in the county. What I'm getting sick of is everybody kowtows to the industry because they might sue us. Really. What do we care? You have a chance to say one of 2 of the most powerful words in the English language. Yes or no. The problem is, if you attempt to override Hartford's right to self-rule, which is what this is, they're not falling for this. Maybe they passed that because they found out the county doesn't own a noise meter and can't even test and show who's violating their own noise ordinances. Hey, we're at 40. Why don't we stop at number 40, take a little setback? What I want to know is the other 39. Which one of you are going to have somebody from the county go test number 1 that you approved? 5 or 6 years ago and see if it's violating the noise ordinance. How about number 2? How about number 10? How about number 25? There's my problem. You're putting the yes on this. You want to put the yes on it. We know what you want to do. It says it right clearly here in the statement that the solicitor is right here. He's a lawyer. That's called the law. The problem with the law is when there is a law on the books and you ignore it, that is a violation of the law. It's a very serious violation of the law. He knows it. He's a solicitor. You can't override a law. What they have to do, Mr. Solicitor, is the Hartford Township would have to actually strike that law. They'd have to actually vote again. And then when they try to do that, all the nice citizens of Hartford would show up with pitchforks and torches and tell them, no, you're not. We like that law. It was put in place to protect us. Protective laws are the most important laws any county, state, or federal government puts in place. It's for protection. They're there for a reason. Now, if the breathing in formaldehyde to all the animals that can't even tell you when they're being harmed by it around the station you want to approve and the other 39 you already have doesn't get to you, then why are we here talking about a stupid sound ordinance? This is ridiculous. We're going to worry about a sound ordinance, which I agree with, and you should make them follow, but we're not worried about what's spewing out. Oh, my ears hurt, but I can't breathe, and I just coughed up my lungs because the formaldehyde in the air. This is insanity. So I would ask this evening, you tabled it last time. The smartest thing this body can do is table it and figure out if Hartford's going to change their law. Because if you try to override it, you're violating your own saldo. And let's see the lawyer back here get out of it. He can't. Because he can read too. I can read your own. Then you have to change that too. And strike local from your own saldo. Try that one. And we'll all show up the same with even more people than you're seeing here. It's not against you, the body. You have the power of yes or no. You've said yes 39 other times. It's time to say no once and find out what really happens. By the way, I don't know if you know it, but you can look it up. Williams is about $6 billion in debt. $6 billion between their two companies. $6 billion. They don't have any money to sue anybody. And we got plenty of money. How much extra money did the county get, Bob? You know, what, $500,000,600,000 in the last 2 years? About $300,000 a year, I think. We had $600,000 come in that's supposed to be tailored to things having to do with the industry, and we can't have a real-time air quality monitoring done on one of the 39 compressor stations you've already approved. That's ridiculous, if I say so myself. You can't buy one noise meter and have one officer that I can call and ask to come and take a reading if I believe it's over it. But I can buy one at Radio Shack for $100 and do the testing myself. But it's not certified, it's in your documentation. But you don't own one. So you're violating your own saldo. You're violating your own noise ordinance. It's 50 dB. Yours is. But it's from the front door of the nearest home or business that's occupied. But when it's violated, like we've already got readings in Liberty and all these other townships where they're already going well over 50 dB, you haven't done nothing about it. So what I'm guessing is, we're going to attempt a yes tonight. We're going to say yes, and let Williams do whatever they want to us. Once again, number 40. Do the right thing. I don't know if you had to swear an oath when you signed up for this, like elected officials do, but most of the oaths are, I'm protected with the Constitution of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and it right in there is I have a right to clean air, pure water, and I'm surely, and the environment, and that doesn't include 80 dB blasting in my back window 24 hours a day until it goes up to 120 when they vent. If you've ever been near when it's like a jet engine taking off for hours, and they're doing it from 12 a.m. to 2 in the morning usually, because there's nobody to call from DEP. So please do the right thing. You're all good people. You're all local community people. I'm sure you're great people, but you have a chance to do what I said to my kids, my 4 children, every time they were doing something that might harm them. No! That's what I said to them. Stop! You're going to hurt yourself. Please use that powerful word, no, and tell Williams, meet the requirement of the Hartford ordinance. It's not up to us. Hartford overrides us because that's the reality. And if you don't, then don't worry about Williams suing you. Why not? We're going to sue the county, we're going to sue the planning commission, and we're going to sue everybody else involved in Williams too. Because what they're trying to do is the worst of all things. Circumvent the process and go around the law. There is no around the law. So I really appreciate the time for allowing me to speak. I hope that you're looking at that. Number 40, just say no to it, and let's find out what happens. And while we wait for this one to get approved, let's use that $600,000, some of that money we got, they probably stuffed in the bank, and get a real-time air quality monitoring out of the largest compressor station that we have in the county, that you guys have already allowed, stamp that one and said yes. I would love to know what's coming out of it, because I want to find out what I'm breathing when I'm living here. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let's move on to old business. Subdivision.
There's more comments. There's more comments. You can ask for more comments. You didn't ask.
Well, we can close public comments if we choose to.
May-
Thank you.
comments.
Appreciate it. Nancy?
Oh,
I'm sure.
no,
You're closing the meeting before comments. I
You
object-
can't
I object on
hold
record.
up
You're closing the
comments,
meeting
that's
before-
sunshine. If you wanna go to executive
I'll allow
session.
a couple minutes to say.
Thank you, I'll be very brief. My name is Megan Holleran. I also live right across around the hill from this compressor station. And not only do I agree with my mother and Craig and Vera about the following Hartford's noise ordinance, which I would really appreciate if you would make them do and follow that law. Also, just to back him up on some of the air quality comments, I work for the gas companies and the pipelines. I recently had to do safety training. It's a brand new thing that they're making us do now to work for some of the gas industry, and they safety train us on air quality around compressor stations and wells. And it's a little scary. As employees, when they send us out there, they tell us what to do if we smell something, if we feel lightheaded, and if air quality monitors show things like that. As an employee, we're trained in what to do. As a resident, we are given no information on this. It's a little bit scary, and it makes you think that no matter what's coming out of all the different agencies reporting on air quality monitoring, the gas companies are training their employees to be wary of these things. And because of that, this is right across the hill from my house. Just, maybe don't let them put it there. Protect our air force. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
I have something to say. Julianne Skinner, Montrose Borough Council. I think that you should give serious consideration to not overriding Hartford Township's ordinance. It takes a lot of money, it takes a lot of effort, it takes a lot of time to do an ordinance that they paid for. We just did ours, the consultant, the meetings. Why would you do that? Why would the County Planning Commission do that to one of their municipalities? It's beyond me. Secondly, have you done it before?
Okay, thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Oh, I gotta amend mine. One of the things, Brett Jennings, 28 August 2012 meeting, Williams came here to increase the size of one of their compression stations from 3 to 5. At the same night at the high school in Montrose, DEP was having a hearing for 3 compression stations. You may want to check to see what their permit is being issued for, because many of the original compression stations, they were all being run for 3 engines to keep them a minor permit instead of a major.
Okay, thank you.
And I want to amend also my comment. I want to make sure that you know, for the record, since the Tuttles are not here, they were planning to be here. Something must have happened that they couldn't make it. Hopefully it's not anything awful, but I want to just say that the Tuttle family filed at least 3 noise complaints with their township about this compressor station. They asked for help. The township would not give them any help, did not enforce it. Then they were told they can call the state police. They called the state police. State police did not help. And then they spoke to Jason Lake this past week or so. Jason Lake said to file a complaint, criminal complaint, which they did. They filed a criminal complaint saying that they did not get help from the police either. So we have several complaints from this family about non-enforcement. I want you to know that. And I want you to know that in the building thing of the county code, it says that all compressors and equipment other than condensate tanks and other non-mechanical support equipment shall be located within a fully enclosed building with soundproofing and blow-down silencers and mufflers. I want to also make sure you know that fans are located outside the building in all of these compressor stations. They make a lot of noise also. They need to be soundproofed somehow in some kind of a building, some way, and they're not being done. That's in your own saldo. So I want to make sure you know that, and that's on the record also. And I'm asking for another noise survey to be done based on the Hartford Township ordinance, which says it has to be done within 25 feet of the property line. This compressor station is on 30 acres on a long access road. Within 25 feet of that 30 acres, we want a noise survey done and see if they can pass the Hartford Township ordinance, which is a 50 decibel maximum. And you're supposed to have everything done according to your own sound to be based on all applicable laws, which includes local, county, and state. And we must include the local laws. And it should be a sign at the entrance too, just to let you know, so we know that this monstrous thing is on top of the hill. Thank you.
All right, let's move on to subdivision and land development review. Number 1, Rush Township Supervisors. Land Development, Rush Township, requesting appointment